I'm an integrative practitioner. If they're not following my prescription on exercise and eating well, then all bets are off. And sometimes they're so down and out, and they can even go for a walk and, hey, get on TRT, and maybe you can wean off or not, or stay on it if you're happy, depending on what the goals are. Fertility is an issue, of course. So.
This is the Man Up Podcast, a doctor's guide to men's health.
If you've been enjoying listening to our podcast, please hit the subscribe button on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts.
My name is Dr. Kevin Chu, and I'm joined as always with my co-host, Dr. Justin Dubin. This week, our episode is titled Tee Up, Understanding Testosterone-Boosting Supplements with Dr. Geo Espinosa. Justin, this was a really great episode where I think we talked a lot about and got answers to these infamous supplements that, a lot of our patients will come and talk to us about. They want to know, will this help us? Can we take this instead of taking, testosterone therapy? So I thought it was a really fascinating episode because this is a lot of stuff I didn't know going into it.
Yeah, for sure. I think both of us, we have dabbled a little bit in the biohacking space. We've dabbled a lot in, supplements. We know the literature pretty well. Obviously, we don't know it as well as, Dr. Geo does, who is fantastic. But I think really big picture things that we're learning here is that I think a lot of people want to go the natural path. Right. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think and if you want to get a supplement to boost your testosterone, that's great. And I think the key here to understand is, even in this conversation, is if you have very low testosterone, if you are truly hypogonadal, it is very, very unlikely, I'm not going to say impossible, that these medications or supplements are going to get you at a therapeutic level or where you want to go. I think the key word here is optimizing and improving with supplements. I don't know if you agree with that or not.
Yeah, I do. I think, again, and it's with a lot of other medications or supplements that I do for other ailments in urology, but there is a sense that it can help augment. But again, you're absolutely correct. It's not going to necessarily get you directly to treatment goal, which is, in our kind of line of work, that's what we're looking to do.
Yeah, for sure. So I think it's going to be a very insightful episode. I think that everyone's going to really enjoy it. Just a little quick thing about Dr. Geo Espinosa. He's a naturopathic and functional medicine doctor at the Department of Urology at NYU. I think he's maybe the only naturopathic physician that I know of who is part of a urology department. And he does really fantastic work, specializing in prostate health, penile health, male and testosterone. He's the CMO and formulator at the male-focused nutraceutical company XY Wellness and sister company Mr. Happy. He's also a huge presence online. He's the co-founder and producer of the popular male health website, drgeo.com, and the popular urological and male-focused podcast, the Dr. Geo Podcast, which is fantastic. I've been on it. I think Kevin may be going on it. So we definitely recommend you check it out. And he's got some really wonderful insight, and I think we learned a lot. So make sure to check him out. And as always, check out our podcast. We're filming our beautiful faces. So make sure to subscribe on YouTube. Check us out on Spotify, iTunes. Give us a review. Reviews are always appreciated. And also a 5 stars and comments for Kevin and I. Let's get into the episode.
All right. So today we are very lucky to be joined by Dr. Geo Espinosa. We're going to talk about something that Justin and I kind of chat about on the side, but we just are really looking forward to learn a lot about. And, Dr. Geo is going to be able to give us a lot of great information on this. So Dr. Geo, first off, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thanks for coming on.
Oh, man. Guys, thank you so much. The Man Up Podcast. I love the name. Love to talk about all things men's health. And it's a pleasure to be here with you guys. Thank you so much.
Thanks for coming on.
Awesome.
Man.
All right. So let's get straight into it. So before we get into specifics with supplements, let's start off with some big picture stuff. So our patients are always asking about supplements to help boost their testosterone. And there's clearly a large
Mm,
market for natural testosterone boosters. So why do you think
mm.
so many people are interested in using these supplements to boost their testosterone?
Honestly, because they don't want to take anything you guys give them. They have trust issues. They have trust issues with you guys,
Facts.
and right. So they're saying, well, if a doctor's going to recommend, it's probably not good for you. Or probably so then I have to deal with the side effects of what they give me and all these kinds of things. Truth be told, as you guys know, I'm a naturopathic functional medicine doctor trained in naturopathic medicine, and I'm the one. I'm the one protecting you guys and kind of teaching patients about the good things urologists do. So a little bit background, you guys know this. I work at NYU, right? So I'm faculty at NYU.
Yes.
So I've worked only with urologists since I got my degrees and passed my boards. It's been the most amazing experience of my life. So initially, rather than when I started at Columbia, actually, rather than saying, medicine is bad, natural is the only way, these people are crazy, I flipped it. I said, what is good about urologists and what they do? We know there are problems. We know there are problems in medicine. We know you don't always get it right. We know that, prescriptive people want, you don't look at it holistically because you're not trained to look at it holistically, and so I teach the patient that they're not going to have a conversation with you about nutrition science or nutritional medicine. It's not part of the training. So why have those expectations? And so I, prostatectomies. I know we're going to talk about men's health. Prostate, amazing. What urologists? I mean, I see these guys like, I don't know, 100 times, several hundred times a year. Amazing. You can remove this gland and kind of return pretty much back to normal in like a couple of days. Actually, have a catheter and you take the catheter out, and now it's amazing. And many of these guys get erections back. Like what? Yeah. So I find that to be the most amazing thing in the world. Of course, I don't want my prostate taken out, and I know there's actors and things like that. TRT, it works, right? It works. Like I'm the one saying, hey, TRT works. Now, I don't want TRT. I want to boost my own testosterone and optimize my own testosterone. But if I hit a point where, despite what I do, I can't get there, you better believe I'm going to take some TRT. And that's what I recommend with my patients. If they hit a wall with my recommendations, go to the next step, get some TRT, and it works amazingly well. So Viagra, PD5 inhibitors, my goodness, what a great drug. Cialis, tadalafil, great for your prostate. It's almost like a supplement, if you ask me. Like, so I'm the one. So that's the reason there's misinformation on the internet. Part of it is because there are not great doctors out there. We can all agree, right? They're irresponsible. And they have trust issues, and they want to take the natural route. Natural is better. Natural sounds better, feels better, emotional and things like that. So that long-winded answer here, Kevin.
No, I think that you bring up a really good, important point where I think a lot of times, Kevin, and I am sure you too, see patients who come in, they know they've had low testosterone for potentially years. They've tried lifestyle things, they've tried supplements. And I think that some people don't understand exactly what you're saying. Supplements they're there to boost your testosterone. They're there to supplement your normal testosterone levels or improve them, but they're not there to replace and completely improve. And that's the difference, right? You're talking about supplementation and boosting, and the words are different, right? And testosterone replacement. You are actually really doing it. So I think that there's a threshold there that I think there's a misunderstanding with our patients where they think that they're equivocal, where as you and I and Kevin all know, they're not. And that's not necessarily saying that's a bad thing, but it's understanding when to know which one and which one's appropriate.
Yeah. In my practice, I'm an integrative practitioner, so I always want to start my patients in a natural approach. By the way, supplements is one element. There's exercise. And right. If they're not following my prescription on exercise and eating well, and that could be another podcast because there's a lot of confusion with that as well, then all bets are off, right? So there's a lot of things to do. And sometimes they're so down and out, they cannot even forget about going to the gym. They can even go for a walk. So that's another type of patient. Hey, get on TRT. Once you get on that, we'll get you going. And maybe you can wean off or not, or stay on it if you're happy, depending on what the goals are. Fertility is an issue, of course. So,
For sure. Now, one of the big concerns that Kevin and I always, warn our patients about when, they're saying they want to take supplements or they are taking supplements is this big picture idea that, supplements are not FDA regulated, right? And because of this, there's a lot of scammers out there. It's very difficult to, at least I don't know the ways, and this is where your specialty comes in understanding, what makes a good supplement, and, some people just taking your money. And can you highlight this issue? Because oftentimes I find myself saying, hey, listen, this says it's what's in it, but there's a lot of data showing that sometimes that's not what's in it. So how do we know, what a good supplement is?
Well, what you're referring to is quality manufacturing practices, right?
Yes.
So how do we know that what's in the label is in the bottle, right? And the truth is, you don't know. Okay. Now, there are reputable brands out there. So I only work with reputable brands, but again, you don't know what you don't know, right? So who was it? Lamar Odom, who had one of his crazy moments and went to a gas store. And other than that, he bought some supplements from, the counter, and they had like PD5 inhibitors or something. That's a thing. That's a thing.
100%. The rhino pills. Yeah.
So let's talk about regulation of dietary supplements. So they are regulated. And I think what people really want to say is they're not regulated like pharmaceutical drugs. And that is true. There are rules called the Share rules from 1994, where they have to have good manufacturing practices, and there are standards as to how to put a formula together and produce it. There are standards. However, the supplement is not tested prior to going to market. So somebody comes around, checks, make sure that there's good manufacturing practices. So let's say you guys want to start a supplement company tomorrow, you could. No one is stopping you. You have to follow the Share rules and the Share practices and good manufacturing practices, but that's not going to stop you. What will cause an issue to that supplement company is if something happens to a person, if they get a side effect or they die from it. And then now it alerts the government to step in. Okay. So, and of course, a lot of there are companies that are not following these practices, and that they are kind of putting either drugs in their supplements, or what's in there's almost very little or nothing in the bottle what's on the label, right?
Right.
That is one of the issues. Those in the know kind of know this is a good company. You vetted the company; they're a good company. And those that don't know just don't know, right? And then the next question is, where are these herbs and supplements and vitamins and minerals coming from, right?
Right.
A lot of them come from China. Not a bad thing necessarily, because there's no other choices sometimes. That China has all these herbs, and that are they're Chinese herbs, but even beyond Chinese herbs. They're very much into the market. And then what you have to do is when you get this bulk and it says, I don't know, ginseng, you have to take that and test it. You cannot take it for face value. The certificate of analysis says ginseng. You have to take that, send it to a private lab, make sure that it's clean, make sure it doesn't have any mold or metals or low in metals and toxins, and it's ginseng, and it's the type of ginseng. It's not Korean ginseng, it's Siberian ginseng or whatever it is, things like that. So again, you should be doing that in your supplement company, but no one is going to stop you if you don't.
Right. That's expensive. It's
expensive. It's an expensive process. That's why better supplements cost a little bit more. And so supplements are not inexpensive, particularly this day and after COVID. They're just not inexpensive like everything else.
It's just such an interesting world because like I can hop on Google right now and you can find multiple companies that can produce a supplement that you literally just go on there and you click on like, hey, these are the ingredients I think it is. And then they can come up with a compound on it. So are like, just asking out of pure curiosity, are these companies dependable, or like you really have to kind of go in and really check in deep where they're sourcing it from?
Yeah, well, in the internet, we could get anything, including PD5s and all kinds of things now, right? So
Oh
we
yeah.
just can get
Right, right.
absolutely anything, and you don't know what you're getting. So it's not only supplements, it's
That's right.
pharmaceuticals, it's everything.
Yeah. God.
I'm sorry. So really, the consumer, if they're not really into doing their research and doing it properly, they're not going to know. So the consumer typically gets their information from a trusted source. Sometimes they have a naturopathic or functional medicine doctor on board, and that's always the best way because they know what they're prescribing. There are potential interactions between supplements and pharmaceutical drugs, and B, you get the best quality, right? You go on the internet, even Amazon has come out. It's been reports that many of the things that they've sold, it's not what the label says is different from what's in the bottle, right? So, but again, there are reputable companies out there, and then you just need to know which ones are those.
All right, excellent. So let's get right to the questions that I know our listeners are really, really wanting to know right now, and that's talking about testosterone boosting supplements. So, Dr. Geo, how effective can testosterone boosting supplements be for a male?
All right, let me rephrase that question.
Yeah.
Okay, because how effective are testosterone supplements? Well, that means to me, can it raise my total?
Right.
Here's what I want to do. I want to not only raise my total, but I want to free up my testosterone. I want to do whatever I can to get those receptors to work better. I want to make sure the mitochondrial health in the cells work well because that's where testosterone is made. I want to make sure that testosterone gets into the testicle and into the nucleus. So, right? So I'm looking at, that's the way I look at it. So there are times that I see a guy with 350 testosterone that he's doing great, right? There's 2% free. There's no way of testing for receptors, but just by the way he's responding, I'm like, yeah, things are working, right? So those are the kinds of things that so for me, it's not a matter of just raising total. It's a matter of optimizing the testosterone in their body so it does what it needs to do. So that I'm going to answer that question that way.
Yeah.
And then kind of tell you how the whole thing works.
Okay. So tell us.
I'm setting up the stage here. A little bit of come on.
Yeah.
I'm in New York here. Broadway is not that far away from here,
Well,
man.
I guess the question is, when before we get into individual supplements, and I kind of leaning with what you're saying is like, do you expect certain supplements other than direct T to influence are certain supplements going to be like, yeah, they're improving your T. You're saying others might decrease your SHBG, which is kind of what you're alluding to there. But are these things that end up being symptomatic relief as well? Like that's another obvious impact of test. You can raise numbers, but it doesn't necessarily mean, symptomatic relief, right?
That's right. And I'm gonna put lifestyle aside because I get them to work out, sleep better, and all these things. I'm gonna put all that aside and kind of in the patients that I've seen whose lifestyle is already healthy, they haven't made any changes, who exercise the way they do, they sleep the way they do. New Yorkers are not going to get great sleep anyway. I don't care what I tell them, right? What happens when I put them on a supplement program, right? And then what the data shows, because there's systemic reviews and things like that, right?
Absolutely.
The right type, and I'll say one other thing as I keep building the stage. Come on, tell me what it is. Tell me what it is. There's two ways of using herbal supplements. Some people are the standalone guys, right? I'm only going to use ashwagandha. That's it. I'm only going to use one. I'm trained, and the way most herbalists are trained is to use the formula. A formula is always better than a single ingredient because they hit different pathways, right?
Right.
So there's more synergy in Chinese medicine. It's all about formulas. It never use one thing. So the formulas work more synergistically, right? So I'll say separately, and then that makes it very difficult for the scientist or the hard scientific person because they want to kind of single out the thing. And kind of this is a different way of thinking. This is not about singling out. This is about how do things work better synergistically, right? Now, TRT with a PD5, I don't know, perhaps works better than just PD5 depending on the person, I guess.
Absolutely.
That kind of stuff. So many of the ones that are used, and that I'll say this, because there are some that are used that I don't think are that good, right? But they're very common and very popular. Like, for example, Tribulus. Tribulus is everybody says Tribulus for testosterone. I never seen it. And the data is not is not supportive of it being that great for increasing testosterone. And there's Tribulus in almost every formula. So I maybe, I'm still looking and searching, and it hasn't been the case, for example, right? The one that seems to do, one of my favorite ones is a category of botanicals, herbs, that are called adaptogens. Adaptogens, as the name implies, helps the body adapt to stress. And how it does that chemically is by modulating cortisol. Cortisol castrates. Hashtag cortisol castrate. You guys can use it.
That's good.
You guys can use it. So cortisol, as we know, interferes with the production of testosterone. Adaptogens are excellent for helping men adapt to stress. Gives a little more energy. They're really my favorite category of herbs. You can use it for many things. And there's a few types. There's rhodiola is an adaptogen. There is Siberian ginseng. There's quite a few. The one that is there's more data, the one I use the most is ashwagandha. So ashwagandha in infertile men has shown that not only it improves sperm cells quantity and quality, but actually reduces cortisol, and it tends to increase testosterone and even free testosterone. So there's that benefit. I mean, ashwagandha randomized study just came out for cognition and brain function that it improved brain function in a group of people versus the control group. Now you gotta be you cannot have pharmaceutical standards when you're looking at herbal studies. They ain't gonna it's not gonna be that powered. If you get 100 people to study herbs and randomize it, that's a win. Okay, so you keep that in mind, and I know the more powered it is, the better the results. But then you try it and you see what works. And in the supplement world, a randomized trial, even of just 2 people, one taken and one control group, that's like, whoa, it's a randomized trial. So let's modulate our standards here as it relates to studies and herbals. But when you look at ashwagandha and the preponderance of studies, brain function, sleep, fertility, testosterone, it's very good. It's very good. So ashwagandha is one of my favorite, one of my go-tos.
Justin, I want to just take a pause right here, Dr. Geo. Justin, ashwagandha and its effect on fertility. Your thoughts? Or did you even know much about that? Because I'll tell you, looking at a little bit...
The Moxie trial, I mean, Dr. Geo, you're familiar with like the Moxie trial. That was not included in the Moxie trial at all. The Moxie trial, for our listeners, was pretty much the only really, really well done study that looked at randomized trial to see fertility in sperm outcomes on several supplements. And ashwagandha was not included, and the data showed that there was no difference. Now, that does not mean that it does or does not work, but that's the one study that we do have. And there was a lot of criticisms of the way that it was designed. And of course, like Dr. Geo had said already, all these supplement studies, it's not necessarily the fault of the supplement. It is very, very difficult at many times to quantify these things. So, but that's what Kevin was alluding to. That was kind of the trial that we've used as the gold standard. It was the Moxie trial, which came out, I think, about 6-7 years ago at this point. But yeah, ashwagandha was not in there. That was not included. And I personally did not know that data. Kevin,
no, I did not. Before we got on this, I took a look at just taking a glance at testosterone boosters, and you're taking a look and you're seeing ashwagandha improvement in semen parameters, improvement in FSH and LH levels. So it's just something very interesting, and it's always
and lowers cortisol in those that already have high cortisol. It's when people start talking anti-aging, web botanicals and things like that. Ashwagandha, rhodiola too, by the way, except that I believe rhodiola has similar properties. It just hasn't been as well studied like ashwagandha. But rhodiola is really, really good. Those are my 2 favorite adaptogens.
So look, Dr. Geo, we've talked now about, you kind of touched a little bit on Tribulus, and now you've brought up ashwagandha. So when looking at all the data on testosterone boosting supplements, what supplements are the ones that you think are the best when it comes to doing the job?
Right. So the formulas and so there's botanicals and then there's vitamins and minerals, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the botanicals are ashwagandha, Tonkat Ali.
Yes, I knew
Tonkat
the data
Ali,
on that.
very good. It's very good. And again, it's amazing. I have systemic reviews on Tonkat Ali on trials, and it's actually pretty positive. And my experience is that it is very good as well. So Tonkat Ali, um, um, there's one called literally. I mean, that's the trade name or the fun name is horny goatweed is
Oh,
one.
yeah.
Yes.
And it's those horny goats. The data there is a minimal. But I've used it, not used it, kind of tried on patients and see what works, what doesn't. It could be pretty good in helping men optimize their testosterone levels and their male sexuality and or erections. There's a chemical in horny goatweed that is analogous to a PD5 inhibitor. In fact, it is a PD5 inhibiting substance. And so I believe that when Viagra came out and there was something going on where the makers of horny goatweed said, well, it's a PD5 inhibitors. And of course, Pfizer was like, no, you can't say that. There's only one PD5 inhibitor. There
Right,
was this back
right,
and forth
right.
going on. But there are chemicals called icarin in horny goatweed, ICARRIN, that's actually a PD5 inhibitor. What people don't know is how much of this icarin should I use? And so that's where the experienced person kind of says this much and that much. So horny goatweed can be pretty good. And also the act of being sexual and having sex raises testosterone, right? So maybe I don't know what
Absolutely.
comes first, right? Um, and let's see. The other ones are so there are some vitamin A helps with seems to help with making sure that the testicular cells are healthy enough so that there's good transfer of testosterone to the Leydig cells for the signaling of testosterone. So vitamin A, magnesium a mineral, and zinc a mineral, and boron seem to be able to inhibit SHBG or overproduction of SHBG. Magnesium, boron, and zinc. Right. So in any formula, those are the kind of things I'm looking at. I'm also looking to know what helps with improving mitochondrial function, because I tell you guys, I just had a conversation with Thomas Seyfried for my podcast. So this guy's the metabolism of cancer from Boston College professor, and his thinking in his research is completely different than what you've seen as it relates to cancer. We have to break it down for prostate cancer, which is forget about genetics. It's all about metabolism, and it's all about mitochondrial health. And if you have a genetic mutation, then that genetic mutation causes dysfunction in the mitochondria. So at the end of the day, it's still mitochondrial. And it is fascinating. The Otto Warburg theory from Germany from the 1940s, he brought this back to life. And he's written over several hundred papers and so forth. So, the point there is that there's a lot of concepts as to that we're still investigating as to how can we optimize these things and things around mitochondrial health, the importance of it, longevity, cancer prevention, cardiovascular, testosterone. So there are things to do for mitochondrial health. There's many things. Acetyl L-carnitine seems to be helpful for that, and things like ubiquinol, also known as CoQ10, for example. I'll pause there and get some questions from you guys.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a great list. I think I think Kevin and I are familiar with a lot of these.
Oh, good.
One that I do want to quickly comment on, because I get this asked a lot, and I don't think that there's any data, and you haven't mentioned it, is DHEA. There's so many people bringing up DHEA. Now, it is a precursor to testosterone, so people think that it is Having more of
Right.
a precursor will give you more testosterone.
Right.
And truthfully, I think, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, I think the data is not good at
Yeah.
all on DHEA
Yeah.
supplementation in terms of boosting testosterone. So that's one I did want to make sure we mentioned here.
Right. So DHEA is an androgen that does its own thing as well.
Right.
So DHEA, DHT and testosterone. These are androgens, right?
Right.
And so what happens is you take DHEA, you can make more estradiol from a DHEA as well. It depends where it
There
decides to
you go.
go,
Right.
right? And that's what actually happens. And in my opinion, when I'm trying to optimize people's male hormones, I'm looking at ratios. I'm a big ratio guy, right? Testosterone to estradiol, testosterone to DHT, testosterone with free testosterone. So again, I've had people at 300, but everything is perfect and they are asymptomatic. It's like, so there's, this is just either an incidental finding or we did something and got it from 200 to 300 and now they're feeling great again. So DHEA can go in the estradiol pathway and just create more estradiol in men, and that's not good. So the way I look at DHEA is if I get their DHEAS levels, and if that's low, I give them 25 to 50 milligrams. I don't think that's definitely going to increase their testosterone. I just think that DHEA by itself is actually a really good thing that attaches to receptors and is a really good thing. And there's good evidence to show that there's some positive things from it, but I don't use it to raise testosterone.
Excellent.
Does that make sense?
No, that makes sense.
100%.
I did have a patient come in the other day. Was really interested in all this kind of testosterone boosting stuff, and so was having a conversation with me. And so he actually brought up melatonin. What are your thoughts on melatonin? I mean, we kind of know it's helping in sleep and stuff, but its effects in increasing your testosterone.
I presume that if you can sleep really well and hit REM sleep, you need to hit REM. You don't hit REM, you're not making testosterone. Then indirectly it may help. Now, I have no evidence to show that melatonin helps you reach REM sleep, right? In fact, I don't think melatonin is a good sleep supplement. I think that melatonin, if you don't make enough of it at night, which you should in very dark environments, can be helpful for other. It's a great antioxidant, perhaps even some anti-cancer properties, actually, if you don't make enough of it. So I like it for other reasons in sleep, and certainly I don't know the connection between melatonin and testosterone. I can see the possibility, again, it's not great for sleep, and I don't know that it helps you hit REM, but I can see the possibility that if somehow it does and I'm missing something, then yeah, you could get more testosterone from that pathway.
That's very, very insightful. But I agree. I think Kevin agrees. Like anything that's going to make you sleep better, if you can get better sleep, your circadian rhythm is tied to your testosterone levels and your ability to sleep. So, sleeping better is going to improve your testosterone. So indirectly, if you feel like that's doing it, then sure. Now, a lot of go ahead. I'm sorry. Did you want to comment?
I guess I wanted to say, another podcast, sleep podcast. What I've noticed is that the idea is, how do you stimulate the parasympathetic nervous system and slow down the sympathetic nervous system? That's the name of the game. Guys with OAB at night, guys with nocturia, sleep, calming down the sympathetic and optimizing the parasympathetic nervous
system. Sleep apnea, all that stuff,
right?
Stuff is
so that and for your audience, because maybe your audience are lay people, like what they're sympathizing with you? They're sympathetic to the people that wake up at night. Like, what is that? Right? It's all part of the central nervous system. Sympathetic nervous system is the fight or flight nervous system, where you're always on the go. And the parasympathetic system is the opposite, right? Where things are calming down, you can impede and digest and kind of ease your way in to, and you need to stimulate, ironically, the parasympathetic nervous system even to get an erection. Because if you're on sympathetic mode, all bets are off, right? It's not happening. So it's always good to know and to stimulate the parasympathetic nervous system. That's my challenge. I probably become really good at that only because I see New Yorkers mainly. And that's it's not type A personality, it's like, what type of type A are you? You're type A. Are you type A plus? So, my friend and colleague, Vic Nitti, who went from NYU to
great
to UCLA. I mean, he's like, I'm on the beach all the time, and my God, I feel so relaxed. This is not a relaxed person by personality. Like this dude used to come in at 6 a.m. and leave at 8 p.m. and on all the time. And I see him now; he looks like a Buddhist monk. I mean, so calm he is, right? So I don't know. Things are different in LA. Um, but
No,
yeah,
it's a good
that
point.
you want to stimulate. Clearly his sympathetic nervous system is calmer and his parasympathetic system is
No, and it goes to this cortisol level, right? Your cortisol levels are firing when you're stressed, you're
correct.
anxious. A lot of reasons when guys have above, the thought, their brains are, causing them to have psychogenic ED, the
Right.
anxiety, the stresses, cortisol spiking, testosterone dropping. So, this is all those kinds of things. You're in fight or flight mode. You're not in like fucking fun mode. You're in fight and flight mode. So you're not thinking about having sex when you're trying to just survive. So everything you're saying is 100% correct.
Yeah, it's
But
all connected. I really, I'm a holistic practitioner. How are all these things interconnected, and where do we start? Like, where do we start? Um, because you can't do everything, right? But what if we do this? What gives you the most bang for your buck? I know that as it relates to testosterone, well, supplements are easy for guys to take. They just like I'll pop. They can pop pills and do nothing else, actually. But if they, in general, actually, I would say this, a general statement, because everybody, there's 4 parts to all health, in my opinion: optimizing testosterone, overcoming prostate cancer, etc. There's 4 parts. There's diet, there's diet, exercise, sleep, and targeted nutraceutical supplements. I think supplements have a role if it's done right. And then people say, well, prioritize it. Which one is most important? I'm like, man, I don't know, because it's like asking me which one of your 3 kids you love most. I don't know. I do like one more than others sometimes, because depending on how they're behaving, it's not equal. That's for sure. Every day, I'm going to be honest. Dads, be honest, is not always equal.
Definitely,
It's not always
not always
equal.
equal. Yeah.
Not always equal. So I thought of that deeply. I'm saying, man, Geo, like if you really have to prioritize, what would you do? I mean, that gives you the most bang for your buck. Exercise is number one.
beyond diet.
Not even close.
Wow.
Not even close. Here's the thing with guys. If I'm digressing too much, just stop me. But
No.
you're gonna find
No,
this
I'm
interesting.
intrigued. This is good.
I'm in diet debates pretty often, and everybody. It's like I don't really like them because it's like politics and or religion. It's really like politics, religion, and diet. Those are the 3 people that get people very emotional. I'm a paleo. No, that's not what it is. Plant based, the animals, and all this crap. And I don't care about any of that, right? When you look at diet research, number one, it's very difficult to extract from that and say, oh, yeah, this is what it, right? Because the nutrition science is very difficult, a lot of variables and so forth. Observational studies mostly, and then, okay, you got to make something out of it.
Retrospective stuff like that.
All
It's
things like
very
that.
good.
But the question that no one is asking that needs to be asked, it is the most important question to ask as it relates to what you consume, is this the diet looking at people that are active and exercise, or is it that diet that where people are sedentary? What your body does with everything you consume is completely different, not even close, in a body that's sedentary versus a body that exercises. I had a discussion with a Cuban guy that just got here from Cuba 3 years ago, and he says, and I told him what I did. He says, you guys go overboard with this diet stuff, and like sugar is bad. I'm like, well, sugar is bad. Like, yeah, it is, but in Cuba, like we're either playing baseball, or he was actually a pro baseball player, or you're in the farm working, and we're literally drinking water with sugar. Like that's all we have, and that's what we need for energy. And you don't see diabetes, of course you don't. Why? Because when you're active and you consume sugar, and I'm not recommending sugar, is that ultra processed food is really not good. When you're active, you don't even need to produce insulin to get into the muscle. So yeah, you're not going to have type 2 diabetes or anything like this. Proteins. Talk to the other group, to the plant-based group. Proteins are bad. It causes cancer. Meats are bad. It causes the amino acids. Are they active or not? Because when you consume protein, particularly these amino acids that that induce the production of this mTOR pathway that's involved with cancers, right?
Mhm.
The mTOR pathway, we don't want that. Take rapamycin. Well, no, you need mTOR pathway to build muscle. That's how you build muscle, through the mTOR pathway. And there's metabolic problems that people age and don't have muscles. And when you exercise and you consume protein, it's a different pathway. It's not the liver producing mTOR and causing cancer. It's different. So diets, testosterone production, what's good and what's bad, it depends. So this is why exercise is number one, to get back to that point. Exercise,
No, it's very good.
not even close. Depression.
You brought it back now.
Depression. Yeah, I'm actually impressed with myself on that one. I usually get lost out there. Like, oh, what were we talking about again?
We were letting you cook.
Yeah.
We were letting you cook. You got it, dude.
So exercise, not even close.
All right.
Second is sleep.
Beyond diet.
Second is sleep. And actually, if you exercise and you exercise outdoors and things like that, you actually sleep better.
Yeah, I'm sure.
That's why exercise. Third is diet, and fourth is dietary supplements.
Wow.
All right. So that's Dr. Geo breaking down his power play for testosterone boosting.
Yeah.
Now, we've highlighted a lot of supplements thus far, a lot of them that work, some of them that don't. Now, when I've looked at the literature, and this is something I've also talked with Kevin and I have talked about a lot, is when you look at the literature, and there is, I agree, Tonga Ali, ashwagandha, there's a lot of data showing that these are testosterone boosters, and those are the ones I very commonly recommend to my patients. But the next question they say is, well, how do I take it? How often do I take it? What's the dosage? And when you look at the data, there's no real consistency in dosage or frequency. And this is one of my biggest struggles, because in the world of a doctor like Kevin and I give you a medicine. I say you take it this amount, this many times a week, and then you're good. I don't have an answer for supplements, because we've already established we don't know true dosages a lot of the times. Even in the better ones, could it be a little stronger than another company? Who knows? So my question for you is, do you have any recommendations on, the best ways to actually take these supplements? Because I'm at a loss here.
Yeah, fabulous question. So the studies, let's say in general, I'm not in particular to any one botanical, they kind of give you a range. Well, this study used 200, this study used 600, and so there's different ranges. And, so botanical medicine, thousands of years, right? It's been around since before pharmaceuticals. And it's really brought down by, herbalists and taught by herbalists. And this is how you do, and this is my experience. It's all experience and mentorship. That's the history of herbal medicine. Then later on, we're like, oh, we better get some science in this. So one is my experience, for sure, that maybe differs from what even the studies show, for sure. And one, the other thing is what the studies show. So if we go by what the studies show, let's say something like ashwagandha, everywhere between 300, I believe 600 milligrams, you give or take, right? And again,
it's daily, or?
What's that?
It's daily?
Daily.
Okay.
And they never study. So what the areas we don't know that I feel comfortable with in having people with taking certain supplements for a prolonged period of time is the study ends at some point. So no one knows, okay, what happens beyond that. And for most things are fine, and you test and think they do fine. So I don't think there's real issues with keeping them on a supplement from an adverse events perspective for a prolonged period of time. What is the issue? Is it working or is it not? And so that's the thing that you need to assess. So typically it's, if we talk about ashwagandha, 300 to 600, give or take, some people could take 1,000, or it's in a formula. So now you're not going to take 1,000 ashwagandha, 1,000 of Tonka Ali is too much. So then maybe you're banking on the formula working more than the exact dosage of each thing. So I've dabbled with both. I'm a big formula guy. I think formulas are more impactful. But I've tried, high dosages of, I don't know, even saw palmetto, which a little bit unrelated to this topic, versus like 320 milligrams a day, which is what was studied. Well, let's try 1,000 a day. And maybe that's kind of what helps with prostate or something, or hair growth. Typically, clearly didn't help me with my hair growth. But 2,000, no. 3,000, no. Is my prostate shrinking at least? Oh, I don't know. Let's get an MRI. So that's the deal. When I'm trying, so what I think I've learned, and I'm always kind of, I'm one of those that, I'm more into what I don't know than what I know, right? So is it what I think I know is, I've tried having people take some supplements for testosterone in the morning, and then I tried having them taken at night, 3 hours before bedtime. I think nighttime supplement testosterone boosters work better 3 hours before bedtime, and I think it's because whatever it's happening for the production of testosterone in that night, then it's helping in that regard. Is what I think it's happening. So typically, I give those supplements 3 hours prior to bedtime.
So you mentioned. I mean, look, dosages have ranked all the way up to 1,000 milligrams. So a question I have is it possible to take too much of any of these supplements? Like, can you overdose on supplements?
All right. Here's the deal. Everybody has that question. Is like, all right, here's the deal. Yes, it's possible. It is highly, highly unlikely. And there's been very few reports that doing so can cause mortality. And I'll give you an example. Vitamin D, you take what, 2,000, 4,000 units a day, right? Although lately it's been D Day for vitamin D, like the Endocrinology Society say, don't even test anymore. So, we'll see. I don't think it's going to happen yet. But just to stay on this topic of toxicity, 2,000 a day, right? Some people who are really big, I give them 10,000 a day because it's absorbed and better and, more efficiently in bigger people at that dosage. Maximum 10,000, 50,000 units a week, whatever. There's been several case reports where people have taken, because poor manufacturing practices, 3 million units a day.
Oh my God. Are you just like oh wow, that's pretty.
I'll send you guys these case reports. They're there. 3 million, 3.5 million. And they, little kidney failure, things are, hair loss, extreme fatigue. But none of these people died. They actually felt really crappy, went to the ER, vitamin D levels were through the roof, and it just keeping them off of it for a period of time got them back to normal levels. So that's, I think, one example. If you take, so there's, just to stick with the vitamins, there's water soluble, there's fat soluble, right? So, A, D, E, K, fat soluble, and vitamin C, the B vitamins and C, those are water soluble. The body regulates itself, particularly with the water soluble. You just pee more. So the other argument that I get, vitamins is just expensive urine. Yes, they could be, because your body's going to take what it needs and dump what it doesn't need. So you may be right about that. So my question is, do you stop drinking water? Don't drink any more water? Because you're going to pee out most of it anyway. Right. So I want to saturate my body with as much of good things as possible and trust that it's healthy enough that it's going to get rid of what it doesn't need. So that's how, so it's, to answer your question, can it happen? Yes. Literally last summer, a lady drank too much water and died simply from drinking too. So yeah, if you take too much of anything, for sure.
But what about ashwagandha and tanka in terms of maybe not overdosing? Like, those are so common, and obviously these are ones that we recommend. What about things or medications that they interact with, other supplements that they negatively interact with? These are also important things that our patients need to know, because obviously maybe they can't overdose on them, or they'd have to take an ungodly amount. Yeah. But they definitely have the ability to interact with other things, is my guess. But you tell me.
Interesting. I think we know less about that, because the conversation comes with where things are CYP inhibitors, right? So these are CYP is a group of enzymes, for the listener, and in the liver that breaks down different things, including pharmaceuticals, and breaks down hormones and breaks down a slew of CYPs. And so some botanicals like St. John's wort is a CYP inhibitor, right? So they said don't take this with X. Grapefruit, right? Don't eat or drink grapefruit juice, when you take these meds. And there's quite a few that seem to have CYP activity, but there's never been any reports or studies showing that this interaction with this caused X, right? So this is all we think this is a CYP inhibitor. Be careful, be cautious, but it's almost like, I don't know about you guys, but many of the urologists the surgeons that I know don't really get their patients off aspirin before doing the surgery anymore. I don't know what you've seen.
I still do if I can.
Yeah.
It's possible.
I mean,
You do?
I don't know why not.
Right, but you want to play super safe, and I don't blame you, right?
Yeah.
But it won't cause excessive bleeding, likely. I mean, I have
a lot of guys. I agree with you. There's a lot of doctors that I know who say it's fine, baby aspirin is fine.
Yeah.
But,
yeah.
man,
So this is that scenario where we know is what's potential, what can possibly happen, but will it really happen? What's the trade-off here? And is it worth the trade-off?
And for these, we don't know.
I think we don't know. And I think we don't know with these CYP inhibitors. We don't know. There's quite a few that are CYP inhibitors, and we just don't know the interaction. In my experience clinically, the most I see is gastric distress. That's the most I see.
That's like the most common thing.
And there again is the body is telling you something, right? So I think I'm less concerned about adverse events from supplements, because either you pee it out or your body's gonna say, I can't take this, and then you won't, right? But in terms of negative and I'm careful with negative, like for example, curcumin, which I use often for other things, vitamin E. These are all like blood thinners,
right.
ginkgo, blood thinners, right?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes they're on warfarin or some other Plavix or something. I say INR, check it, make adjustments, maybe work. And I just never see any interaction that's a problem.
All right.
So
look, I want to incorporate more like these potentials for testosterone boosting supplements in my practice. If you, Dr. G, if you could just kind of paint a picture, like who do you think is there an ideal male that should be taking testosterone boosting supplements? Is there a male that shouldn't be? Is there such, or should everyone be taking testosterone boosting supplements?
I do think that as you age, you need more stuff as you age. So as one ages, right? Men age particularly. It's almost like I've earned the right to sit down and watch remote control and watch TV. I've earned that right. I've worked my butt off. So, and I was like, no, this is exactly the opposite. Get a treadmill and watch TV while you're on the treadmill.
Yeah,
it's exactly the opposite. You should be doing more as you age. And with that, and I, it's, and the question is, I almost feel like it's almost like the same conversation I have with my 12-year-old son. It's like, okay, what's your goal, man? What do you want? You want to be good in baseball and be better with this? You got to do stuff to do that. Do you want to be okay in baseball? Well, you don't have to do much. Just go to practice and go to the games.
Right.
But we have to match your, the activity you do with the goals that you have. As with men, what do you want? Oh, I don't want to be like my dad. My dad at 60 was like this. Okay. All right. Well, that doesn't take a whole lot to be like your dad. What do you want? And we get very specific. 83-year-old man just happened in my office the other day, and he's like coming for wellness, which is crazy. Like no real problems. And I said, all right, so sit on the floor. Let me see you get up from the floor. And he just gets up, right?
Yeah.
And what guys? So do you want good? Do you want okay, good, or optimal? And then we go in that direction, right? I have goals. I don't need. My eldest is 20. Hopefully, no ideas of having kids anytime soon. I hope, but I want to play basketball. Pick up basketball with my 15-year-old grandchild. That's my goal. That's one of my goals, right? I don't want to be dependent on anybody for as long as possible. I want to be 90 and independent if I'm alive. That's my goal. So I have these goals. So based on that, I'm working for it now. to answer your question, Kevin, yeah, depends on what you want. What you want now. I know you want prevention of disease, you want this. So it does take a little bit more based on what you want. And you have to prioritize that, because sometimes there is such thing as pill exhaustion. I'm a pill guy, and I take quite a few twice a day. And I'd rather do that than eat organic broccoli all day, although that's what I do. I do both sometimes, many times. So, but it depends on what you're looking for. What are your goals? What illnesses you have now, and things like that.
It's a good answer. It's a very fair answer. And I think that's what medicine is about. It's about catering to the individual.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of everything. Now, I do have a question that I actually just started thinking about. Obviously there's a new paradigm with prostate cancer and testosterone. We used to think for the longest time testosterone caused prostate cancer. We know that's not the case. And,
Traverse trial. Yeah.
Exactly.
We're rooting you on, baby. Come on.
So,
more data.
So, I have some people who are either cancer survivors or on active surveillance or appropriate patients that are on testosterone now. But some of these guys obviously are, if you have high risk disease, you're currently in it, I'm not recommending you are on testosterone. And often these guys have very low testosterone, or they're previously on ADT or androgen deprivation therapy. Now, what is your opinion on guys with prostate cancer or a history of prostate cancer? Because this is your wheelhouse now, baby. Taking testosterone boosters. And I don't know if this is a fair question because we have no data, but I'm going to give it to you.
Listen, forget about what I think. I just had Helen Burney on my podcast. It was just published.
She's awesome.
The most successful 1 week, 22,000 views in a week.
Yeah, she's great.
All right. So it's her. It's talking to Morgenthaler. It's talking to Mohikera. So my opinion comes from those guys, which, you know what that's about, right? So there's a lot that we don't know, right? So there's 3 parts. I always break it down 3 parts. Low risk active surveillance, absolutely. Hypogonadal. Let's optimize your testosterone by any means necessary.
Absolutely.
Middle route, where the second group, which is they were treated for it, intermediate risk, low or high intermediate risk, it doesn't matter in my mind anyway, and well controlled, the cancer well controlled, and PSA undetectable, and that's arbitrary, right? 3 months, 6 months,
right.
2 years, I don't know, right? Shared decision making, those conversations you have with your patient. They said, listen. And if they're saying, look, man, I feel like crap, I need to be on this. I just had a guy, Gleason 8, that was on testosterone for 20 years. Gleason 8 got his prostate removed, and we put him back on T after his first PSA was undetectable. PSMA shows, everything shows clean, right? Put him back. This is out of the box thinking. I think it's good.
Yeah,
I think it's good.
Agree.
You tell the patient, this is what we know, this is what we don't know. So the way Helen Burney breaks it down is advanced cases off ADT for a while, and the patient is really saying, listen, I want my life back. She's saying, let's do it. If everybody is a shared decision making with the oncologist, with the patient and self, it's like, let's do it. And now that they're studying bipolar androgen deprivation therapy, where it's, we don't know where it goes, but there's a reason why it's studied. Things are studied because there's a reason for it. It's not studied because they don't think that is not a possibility that might be good. So I think that the only group that I don't optimize their testosterone levels is guys on ADT.
Yep.
Yeah. I think that's fair. I think that's very fair.
And I'm willing to have that discussion with anybody who says I'm crazy. But again, I'm just going to refer to Helen Burney, Mohikera, and Abraham Morgenthaler. Go mess with them.
Absolutely.
So that's my opinion is based on that, and I am a big believer in. I don't impose my beliefs on my patient. I want to know what they think. Okay, but if the patient say quality is really important, look, quality is even more important than longevity, than quantity. I'm like, yeah, I'm all for that life, and so let's figure that out. We can try natural and see, or but that's the way I look at it.
That's a beautiful point. And I think all of us here, You mentioned that great word, Dr. Geo, shared decision making, right? At the end of the day, it's a lot about what the patient wants. And from all the information that we can give, we don't have absolutes here, but we have really good evidence to support that, yeah, patients who are on an ADT, you're probably okay getting some testosterone.
Absolutely.
All right. So, question I have for you is, as we get back to the testosterone boosting supplements, are there some common myths or misconceptions that you're aware about that, our listeners should know about testosterone boosting supplements and how to, invalidate those myths?
Myths about testosterone boosting supplements. First of all, they've been around. They've been around as aphrodisiacs for hundreds of years. They've been around for a long, long time. So I think what people think is a new thing, new phenomenon, Tonkat Ali and all these things. The other thing is that the guys that talk like experts out there are I'll say this: Fedosia is an herb from Africa. Big podcasters are saying Fedosia is great. Okay, great. I believe you. I look, I'm like, holy shit, these podcasters are like super evidence based, and there's zero evidence on Fedosia and testosterone. How can, and I'm looking harder. He's like, no, Geo is you. I'm chat GPTing it, I'm PubMeding it, I don't see any significant research of Fedosia and testosterone. So I think that one of the things is like, be careful with who your guru is and who's your, and particularly when they get off their lane. Like I try to stay in testosterone, erections, and prostate. That's what I've done for 25 years. That's what I know. I know the conventional side of things. I know the interactions. I'm into longevity and stuff like that a lot. I'm curious, but male longevity. But I'm really into. I stay in my wheelhouse. So when other guys, so if I start talking about, I don't know, neurological health, which I read stuff, but I don't have that experience. I don't know that you should listen to me too much about that. So that's one of the things. Be careful with your guru, your podcaster that says, this is the way. And I've learned that nothing is the way.
I think that's so important. I mean, I know we live in an age of misinformation, and the thing with the supplements is people can really sell you, right? Because they don't need a script for it, so they can sell you right from their own hands. And the Fedosia, the testosterone is another one that I see a lot of. That I don't think there's any data. I think the testosterone maybe on mice, a couple mice studies that I've seen, but really nothing strong. Now, I do want to, we were talking about something before we started recording that I am very interested in as a man. We were talking about whey protein. And I have been a huge whey protein guy since, I think in high school. I'm always using it. I love whey protein, but I've bounced through a million different kinds, a million different brands. Now, can you just kind of give us a little breakdown of, whey protein, its benefits, and how to really know which ones are the right brands or companies or just in general, what's the best way to take it as well, optimized way?
That's a great question. When I was like, when I was really young, 15, I remember Joe Weider protein powders, and I used to just gulp this thing down, man. And it was like, and I don't even know, it could have been whey. I have no idea what it was.
I think I was Metrics. I used like
Metrics. Oh, Metrics. Like that was another one. Oh my God. Talk about flashbacks, Metrics. That was one of the old school ones for sure.
Yeah.
So that's an area that I am versed in because I've been in it for so long. And then, and honestly, I have people on ADT, as I'm digressing a little bit, but I'm going to bring it back, right? I want them to keep muscle at all costs, like keep muscle, right? And they don't have one out of the three things that keeps muscle, right? So they don't have the testosterone. So I'm like, and this is where me and some of the plant-based people disagree, because they're looking at it from a cancer perspective. I'm looking at it from a quality of life perspective. And there's no evidence to show that it doesn't help the cancer perspective either, right? So I have people on whey protein powders. Absolutely. Right. So let's just talk about whey as a whole, right? So when you go get whey protein, there's three types. There's whey concentrate, whey isolate, and whey hydrolysate. Whey concentrate, the difference between all three is the amount of fat fat in it and the amount of lactose in it. The more is processed to hydroxylase, the less lactose and the less fat it has. It's just pure whey. It becomes more pure. So whey concentrate is cheap. So it's cheaper. So you find a lot of these in the market. They have a little bit more fat and a little bit more lactose. And some casein, a little bit of casein. And isolate has zero casein. Maybe I should say that in dairy, there's two types of protein. There's casein and there's whey. Typically, whey protein has zero casein if it's isolate or hydroxylase. What people, when they say I have a dairy intolerance or a dairy allergen, it's typically the casein, not the whey. Okay? So that kind of debunks that, because people say, oh, I have a dairy intolerance or allergen, I can't do whey. No, you may be able to do whey. Whey isolate, again, it just has no lactase, just becomes more pure, just a little bit more fat, and the hydroxylase, which is hard to find because it's very expensive. What you and I have access to more often than not is whey isolate. Okay? Whey isolate, all good, tons of research on it. If somebody does not work out, zero workout, doesn't lift weights, and consume whey protein, they can still create muscle.
Wow.
Interesting.
From zero working out.
I always heard opposite.
But I thought working out was so important for you. I thought
don't drink the whey if you're not working out, right?
And I don't want to give that mixed message. All right, guys, this is live and it's real, and my son is calling me. All right, you can keep this on the recording if you want. I mean, people need to know.
Hello, Father.
Hello, Leo.
Hi. Jerry's taking me back.
Okay, great. Let me know when you're here. I'll open the door.
Okay, Father.
Bye. We just spoke about you, by the way.
Oh, what'd you say?
I said that lifestyle, diet, exercise, and sleep, if you had to prioritize it, it's like trying to prioritize which kid you love most. And I said that I love all my kids exactly the same.
You know that's a lie.
All right. I'm still on. Love you. Let me know when you're here. Bye. All right.
We'll keep that.
No, we're going to keep that for sure.
All right. So yeah, I'm not saying not exercise. The big $1 trillion drug, if it was a drug, is exercise. Guys, if nothing else, exercise and move your body every day. But this is just to make the point of how good whey is in terms of stimulating muscle, which as we age becomes incredibly important. And guys on ADT, incredibly important. So a lot of research showing the benefits of whey protein. Okay. In some people, there's some insulin resistance, but I just think it's a workout thing. There's some one or two studies that show that, but I'm not concerned about that. So then you look in the market and they say whey protein. All right. What else are you looking for? I don't want my whey protein with anything else. Don't mix it with nothing. Don't mix it with multivitamins. Keep it pure. If I want a multi, I'll get a multi. If I want, prebiotics for my microbiome, I'll get that separately. Don't start playing games with my stuff. So sometimes you see a multivitamin stuff and you see multivitamins in it. And so they have folic acid, which you don't want folic acid because folic acid is synthetic. And most people have a MTHFR mutation, which they cannot convert folic acid to metrotetrafolate, which is the only thing that your body can utilize, for example. Just give me the way. Show me the way.
That's good, man.
The other thing is, what kind of sweetener do they use?
Yeah.
Right? What kind of sweetener? I don't want artificial sweeteners, right, in it. Sometimes they use alcohol sweeteners like sucralose and things like that. I prefer either monk fruit or stevia. They are going to have a sweetener. Now, some people want to go pure, but those things, they're not going to have it pure because maybe you and I will drink it because to me, I just want to chug it down. But
no, I make it tasty. Like I have the
or you
ghost.
do your own smoothie, or you do your own smoothie and you make it a certain way. But they're gonna make it so that most people like the taste, and I don't blame them. It's a business, right? So I want monk fruit in it or stevia. That as my main sweetener. Sometimes a little bit of an aftertaste with these, but it's all right. Okay, so whey isolate with the best sweetener you can, and it will become, it will have sweetener in it. That's kind of the way to go. No pun intended. Then what do you mix it with?
I just put
I
water.
mean, water, fruit, water
Yeah.
or milk.
So it depends. What's the goal? What's the goal? You trying to bulk up? You need more calories to bulk up. So make a nice smoothie with stuff and add the whey and make smoothies and add, I don't know, almond milk or coconut milk or something. You trying to stay at a low calorie state, which that's where I am because I'm already bulky enough and I want to be at a low calorie state because for many other health reasons. Water, my whey protein, shake it and drink it. I also add more to the mix, 5 grams of creatine.
Oh yeah.
So if there's 2 areas where there's a lot of research on is whey protein and creatine. All the other stuff that they talk and all of those jars and seed, GNC, and it's all the same thing. It's either going to be creatine or whey, and it's all marketing and things like that.
One question just popped to my mind. I actually love for the longest time I was taking Optimum Nutrition whey protein. Now, one day all of a sudden, where I was buying from, it was popped up. You can either buy it non-organic or organic. Is that a thing or not a thing? I don't know if I just get my money shelled out. I don't know. I bought the organic one, but
yeah, of course. It's a great word. Freaking yeah, I'm selling chocolate chip cookies that are organic. You kidding me? For $5 each. Are you kidding me? Here's the deal. Even more so than organic as it relates to whey, what you're seeing is grass-fed whey.
Yes.
Grass-fed whey. Grass-fed animal products are actually better than conventional. They're better. Period. End of story. Leaner, omega-3 fatty acids. There's vitamins in them. Much leaner. But once you convert it into whey, it's been so heavily processed that the grass-fed element doesn't matter. Whey is whey.
Yeah, that's.
And I always say ultra-processed foods, stay away from them. Well, whey is an ultra-processed food. And it eliminates everything, including any benefits that you may get. So the fact that it's grass-fed in that particular scenario doesn't matter. Whey is whey. So don't pay more for grass-fed whey. Get whey isolate that doesn't have a bunch of other crap in it. And, either monk fruit or stevia. Or the other one, many of the alcoholic sugars are fine, but just make sure that the sugars are okay.
That was very valuable. I'm going to make sure that the way I'm using is. Yeah, I'm going to go look at it. So we're going to wrap this up now, but with one final question. We've learned a lot about supplements. What to do, what not to do, which ones work, which ones don't. Understanding it, what final advice would you give to someone who's considering testosterone boosting supplements?
They work. They do work. Here's the final advice is they work. They've worked. I did a small study. You can increase, let's just keep it at total. We talked about ratios and free, but just keep it simple at total. 200 points, 300 points. And certainly 300 points, which may be meaningful or not, depending on what their starting point is, the baseline is.
Correct.
They work. You have to learn about the manufacturing practices of that company. How solid are they? And they typically would say it, you look at, there's no, that I know of, there is no objective website that looks like manufacturing practices of companies. Now, you could look at the FDA website and see what companies are not good, because they have a whole list of them. And so you could look up, supplement companies, FDA kind of Google thing, and it'll come up, right? But they can work. They work slower. They're not going to work like those T shots. They do work slower, right? And you definitely want to look into exercise. I'll say this last thing, because I know this is about herbals and things and exercise, but I'll say this one thing. Abe Morgenthaler on Twitter, when it was Twitter before X, he put up, okay, guys, exercise doesn't matter how much you exercise, what exercise you do, it won't raise testosterone. I said, Abe, what's up, man? What's up with that? And then I went all in. I'm like freaking all in PubMed for days and days. Here's the bottom line with that. Exercise needs to be prescribed depending on what goals you have or what goal you have for the patient. If the exercise is specifically for muscle production or testosterone is a way different type than if it's for longevity or VO2 max or this, that, or the other. As an example, distant runners tend to have low testosterone.
Yeah.
Right? So distant runners, marathon runners, ultra marathons, triathletes, testosterone is low. Why is that? Their body's under so much stress. They need to recover from other things, and they're not going to make their testosterone. They're going to shut down because they need to get their immune system up, and they don't have enough. Their metabolism is kind of shot. If you want to boost testosterone, you can't just say exercise boost testosterone. It doesn't. What type? How often? What's the dose? Right? When you look at the literature really closely, this is what it says. It says this. Weightlifting helps with raising testosterone or optimizing, actually, one study showed, optimizing the receptors. So if you want to optimize, right? Because you could have 10,000, testosterone 2,000. If the receptors are not healthy, it's not happening. You need enough receptors and you need healthy receptors. Weightlifting helps with that. And
Absolutely.
Even total testosterone when it's done right. And it has to be done right. What's right? Big muscles. Don't give me curls. Sorry, Justin. I see your biceps, and I know you do curls.
He wears those short sleeves on purpose.
I know.
Always.
Those
He's
biceps, you do
right
curls.
Now.
I know you do curls.
I'm not flexing, dude. I'm just
He's flexing. It's all right. I mean, he's all right. Curls will not help you increase testosterone. So big muscles, thighs, legs, back, chest. You cannot do too many reps. So it's like, really is like, whatever, deadlift, squats, bench press, whatever. 10 reps, rest for 2 to 3 minutes, times 6 sets. That's kind of the formula that might give you both receptors and production of testosterone.
There you go. That's really insightful. And yes, Kevin and I have talked about it on the pod. Weightlifting, resistance training is by far the best exercise to do when we're talking about improving testosterone. But I think that's a great way to wrap up, because I think at the end of the day, supplements work. And obviously we talked about that today, but as you even alluded to, diet, exercise, sleep, they're all parts of a bigger picture, which is lifestyle. And if you don't treat your body well, the other parts, like a supplement, are not going to get you where you want to go. It's not a cure-all. And that's the same thing with testosterone replacement therapy. I have guys come in, they go, hey, I feel better. My testosterone levels are good. I'm still fat as shit. What's going on? I'm like, well, you're eating like shit. You're still sitting on your ass on the couch. And how do you expect to get better? So it's all relative to exactly those things.
Yeah.
I don't know, Kevin, any final
No, not
comments?
really. This was a great conversation. I learned a ton. Definitely.
Yeah. So I want to thank you again, Geo, for coming on. Tell our listeners where they can find us. You have a fantastic podcast, but tell us in your own words.
Well, Justin, you've been on. Kevin, you're next. It's the Dr. Geo podcast. All things Dr. Geo are on drgeo.com. That's Geo with an E, not an I. So drgeo.com. All things Dr. Geo and the Dr. Geo podcast. We talk all testosterone. It's amazing. Brilliant minds from around the world now that are coming on. So I've had Dr. Dubin on, and it's been great.
All right, guys. So thanks as always for listening. As always, you can follow us on @theManUpPod on all our socials. You can listen to us on Spotify, iTunes, Amazon, and of course, you could hopefully be watching us, see my big ass arms. I guess.
There you go. Look at that.
Listen, my abstract got accepted to SMSNA, so I'll be in October in Arizona.
So, you know what? Maybe we'll do another episode live, because we're going to try and record some
and
stuff,
hopefully your biceps will be maybe a little bit more, and we could just take flex.
Oh, I'm going to be having more Whey. I'm going to get that right now. But thanks again, and have a good one, guys.